Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals. Right off the bat, I'm just going to get right into my thoughts of the drafts, where we should expect immediate impact. And again, Green Bay, they wait until late in the round to grab a wide receiver. Now, I'm no expert, but if it was me, I probably would have grabbed a wide receiver maybe first, second round rather than later in the round. And the Arizona Cardinals, man, the Arizona Cardinals just keeps getting beat up. Like, we have so much bad news happening out of Arizona that this 11-6 record is looking more like a 8-9 record. Tell you the truth, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be out now. You do have a good running game with them. You do still have a good defense with J.J. Watt and I forgot who's on the other side. I have to look it up again. But that -2.5, we're going to have to change that number. They're in the hot seat for the moment, and we're going to definitely have to reevaluate Arizona at this point. They, like, this season might not be the season for them. So probably look more towards San Fran. They're still probably going to beat Seattle twice, maybe once, but San Francisco's going to be tough. So that the -2.5 going into the season for Arizona, yeah, we're gonna definitely pump that number up. I'm looking more towards a 2.5, maybe 3 points. Without D Hopkins, let me look at the stats. I'll be right back with you. Let me look at the stats, because that is definitely something that we definitely have to take in consideration. And we got the Green Bay Packers. So let me take a look. I'll be right back with you. All right, I'm back with you. I seen the stats, so it looks like he only played about 10 games last season. So he still had 500 yards with 8 touchdowns. So he scored almost every game in those 10 games, except for 2, if you were to average it out. So that's still huge. He'll definitely that's definitely something to take into consideration moving forward. Also, you don't have that threat at wide receiver, but I think their defense could hold up. So that's my take on Arizona. The Eagles. Now, the Eagles just got A.J. Brown. That is a huge pickup, because you have a number 1 wide receiver, and the Tennessee Titans just took a step back. They lost the number 1 wide receiver. So again, I like Indianapolis. I like Indiana to win this division, and I'm liking Indiana to win that division a lot more since you don't have A.J. Brown in Tennessee. I believe they still have Julio Jones, and they are going to capitalize on Julio Jones. You know what? Let me make sure, because all my analysis and analytics is based on these players being there. So I'm gonna be right back with you again. I have to make sure, because there's a lot of action going on after the draft. So 1 sec. Okay, so since these Titans still have Julio Jones, so they're banking on Julio to have a big season this season. If he could stay healthy, if Julio goes down, that's going to be a hard hit for the Tennessee Titans in the upcoming year, and they're going to wish they had A.J. Brown. But the Eagles do look good. What are they, 9-8, and they face Dallas? I think they can go toe-to-toe with the Dallas Cowboys at this moment. Giants, heard everything I've been hearing, they had a good draft. They focused on defense and that offensive line, and that offensive line been better. I still believe that the quarterback, as long as the quarterback can stop turning over the doggone ball, Daniel Jones has the most turnovers since coming into the NFL by any quarterback. And I think he's getting ready to break the record of how many turnovers he has. So, that being said, hopefully Daniel Jones can get it together, because, me being from New York, I do like the Giants, and I do like to see them win. Even though I'm a Steelers fan, I still want the Giants to do good. Also, Washington. Washington has a team. Philadelphia has a team. Dallas. Like, I'm looking across the division. Green Bay's taking a step back, but Aaron Rodgers will keep them in it. Minnesota Chicago, Detroit, they're still going to be, some tough teams. Well, no, they're not going to be that tough. Yeah, Detroit might be Jared Goff with a better quarterback. Jared Goff. But, I mean, if they couldn't get it done with Matthew Stafford, they can't get it done with Goff. I don't care what anybody says. Looking across the league, it's a lot of teams. It's going to be a lot of good teams. A lot of good teams. The only thing that's going to separate any one of these teams apart is injuries. So we definitely have to keep a look at the injuries, and we have to keep adjusting our numbers accordingly to be on top of everything. But with all that said, we definitely have to look at the Ravens now. We have to look at the Ravens. Like, they traded Brown, and they're pretty much a defensive running team. And then you got that, what's his name? Dobbs. Basically, their running backs coming back from injury. They're going to have a hellified running game with Lamar Jackson throwing the ball. I think they still have enough talent to separate the wide receivers. And, I mean, Brown, he was good. They said he had a lot of drops, though. But with D. Hopkins gone from Arizona, because they traded Hollywood Brown to Arizona, so that might make up some of the difference. We don't know. So I'm definitely going to drop them a couple of points. We got them at 2.5. But the Ravens, now we have to look at, all right, who are the Ravens? Ravens is mostly a run team. They're going to be running all over the place. And I seen that offense last year. They was running out of the pistol. And that offense looked tough. I ain't going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. That offense looked tough. If they can definitely, I want to say, perfect that offense, Baltimore Ravens is an unbeatable team, because you got to look out for the pass, you have to look out for the run, you have to look out for the quarterback. It's just so dynamic what Baltimore can bring to you. And I think they boosted the offensive line as well. Plus, they're getting a lot of their defensive players back. So Baltimore's a team to look at. So let's get into the Kansas City Chiefs at the moment. I know I've been talking, but there has been a lot of action going on. I probably should have did a separate video. Well, it is what it is at this point. So getting into the Kansas City Chiefs, going over real quick. Spread, I do like a negative 3.5 for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, there's a couple things we have to note. Again, all the teams they lost to, these teams are over 500. Tennessee Titans, Buffalo, Baltimore, and then obviously the Cincinnati Bengals. They made it to the playoffs. And then you have one. They kind of killed the division opponents. So we have one division loss, and that's against the Los Angeles Chargers, which isn't a bad loss, and they only lost that game by 6. So these teams are over 500. They lost against teams over 500. And those aren't bad losses. Some of the keynotes I marked in red here. As you can see, we have the over and unders. And one of the things that I noticed is that in week 5, this is when that trend started coming in, where they didn't score over 50 or didn't even score up to 40. And what happened was Edwards-Helaire, he got hurt week 5. And that obviously was a huge hit, because if you actually look at Andy Reid's offense, he always had, like, back in Philly, he had Donovan McNabb and he had Brian Westbrook. So having that running back and that option out really hurt this team a little bit, which they still won. Don't get it wrong. They had enough talent to win each game, but it changed the dynamic of the offense. So he got hurt in week 5. And as you can see, week 5, because before week 5 came, week 1, right, 62. Week 2, 71 points. Week 3, where's week 3 at? Week 3, 54 points. That's 3 games over 50 points. Week 4, 72 points. 4 games. Week 5, he gets hurt. They still put up 58 points. That's total points with both teams combined. Now we get into week 6, 44. Week 7, They lost that game 30. Week 8, 37, 20, 28. As you can see the pattern there. In week 13, obviously, they faced Denver, 31 points. So Eclair, he comes back week 16, and they do a little better, 46 points, but still. And he gets hurt that game. He got hurt again in Pittsburgh. And then after this Pittsburgh game, that's when the numbers started picking up late in the season. But it's huge that we have to pay attention to the injuries, especially with major positions like that. They had a bye week 12. Week 12. Where's week 12? 11. Yep. And then they were down, came back from the bye week 12, 13. Only 31. And then from there on, they went up. So, as we can see with the divisional opponents, betting over 50 is the play this year. Betting over 50 points. Again, I still believe they still have enough talent to score that many points. And going back, let's just note that Tyreek Hill was still playing for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they were only scored 30, 37, 20, 28. So Tyreek Hill, he's kind of expendable at this point. If they looked at that and they said, well, we still could pull out wins without Tyreek, because they were only scoring this many points, and it wasn't like he was doing anything special but running up and down the field. Yeah, he was scoring. He was a big major part of that offense, but still, they only put up so many points, and these games were close. So the most important key to note here is that the wide receivers are not the most important part of this game. It is the halfback when it comes to Andy Reid and his offense. So with that being said, just to note, as far as the spread, there was one game where they didn't score over 3.5 points, and that was against the New York Giants. And again, New York Giants was bad last year, team under 500. That's not surprising. We've been seeing that pattern since I've been putting out these videos. And what else? These teams are over 500, so we have to look out for that. And they lost once to a division rival or division opponent. And as we can see here, that 3.5 for a win, if we feel like they're going to win, and if we kind of stay away from these teams that's over, like completely in the playoff run. I think all these teams, well, except for Baltimore, but Baltimore, they were still good. It's just they were facing injuries, so they were 8-9 last year. So they were still good. They just faced a lot of injuries. They were supposed to be in the playoffs. I think they were. Don't quote me on that, but they should have been in the playoffs. And as we can see the times, 8:20 p.m., 8:20 p.m., 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And it's really no pattern, but these late night games are something to note as well. That's why I got the times on them. So pretty much just look for patterns and we take it from there. So my take on this, if Edwards, Eclair didn't get hurt, these totals would have been a lot more. So as long as Edward Eclair stays healthy, I am definitely going over. I'm betting the over for the whole season. I got that 50 points until I see otherwise. And when they don't score 50, that's when the streak ends. But definitely the first 4 games of this upcoming season, 50 points, definitely. And going forward, the spread, -3.5. I do like 3.5. I think they could repeat it, but without a Tyreek Hill, that might take a couple points down, because they're not going to be able to spread the field, but they have enough talent out there. Patrick Mahomes is that talented that he can get any one of those wide receivers the ball. I think it's mostly the offensive system rather than the offense of player. So that's my take on it. A good number for this year. I do like the 50. I like 50 for both divisional opponents and regular season opponents. Opponents in the regular season that's not non-divisional opponents, should I say. So 50, and I see this, but again, that's the only variable that happened until they reach that week 5. That's when the number starts going down. It starts making sense. Then New York, what is this, Monday? What date was that? That was week 8. It might have been cold in New York, Green Bay. It was definitely cold. Then you face Dallas. And they were at Kansas City. So, again, it has to be the halfback. It has to be in that halfback in the offense. And then you can see all the numbers. Now, they face Denver. They face Los Angeles. They face Vegas. And they've been scoring over 50. So, if they're facing a divisional opponent, definitely get them. And they might go... I want to say they might lose 2 to 3 games to divisional opponents this year. I want to say 2 because you don't have a Tyreek, but they still have speed on that side of the ball. So they're going to probably surprise a lot of people. They think they're going to probably take a hit, but I don't think so. The teams I'm looking to take a hit this year, you got Arizona. Yeah, Arizona's going to take a big hit this year. Now, this is all speculation. Don't quote me on this, but I'm not looking to bet heavy on Arizona this year. And I'm not looking to bet heavy on Green Bay this year. Teams that I feel like might be an underdog, definitely the Eagles. I definitely like what the Eagles are doing and that nobody's really looking at them. And the Saints. I have to look at the Saints. Like, again, the Saints shut down Tampa Bay last year twice, and they just signed a honey badger, so it's going to be a interesting season. But I'm gonna stay on top of everything. I'm definitely going to take notes on what's coming up and trying to figure out these best numbers for you. So we're looking at, for the Chiefs, 3.5 going into the season, -3.5, and we're looking at an over for 50 points. So if we get anything lower than that, perfect. If we get anything higher, we probably want to tease that down to 50. I do like the 50 right there. Can we go up a little bit with that number? Yeah, we could definitely go up. Like, I'm looking at the first 4 games right here. 54, yeah. I definitely think they can do it. Definitely the first 3 games, but we're going to look at them and see how they operate without Tyreek Hill. And Miami is going to be one of them underdog teams as well, because they had a good defense. They lost their head coach, and he went to the Steelers. The Steelers, I mean, it's just so many teams. But that's all I have for this video. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and most importantly, bet wisely. Like, subscribe, share.